Boom and boom.
All right. So this is session 0 for Beneath the Streets of Nuln. We're just going to chat a little bit about the game, answer any questions that folks might have, and thanks everybody for making it. So this is going to be a mini campaign. So it's going to run, I don't know, anywhere from 3 to 5 sessions. And I'm assuming that everyone's okay with running 3 to 5 sessions. How I usually run it, I'm not going to force it. If we can get it done in 3 sessions, we'll do it. If it runs 5, that's fine with me too. And how it'll work is at the end of this session 0, we'll talk about, is there a set day and or time that works best for all of us as players, and if so, we might try to run with that and then see how often we want to get that done. So first, I just wanted to talk a little bit. So obviously, talk about a little bit about social contract. Really, aren't we all here to have fun? So that's first and foremost. That hopefully that's what we're all doing. If we're not having fun, then why do it? It's really important that players and the game master work together. So I'm really big on that collaboration piece. So either before a session or after a session, if folks have feedback, if they're comfortable enough giving it to the whole group, that's fine with me. I think through feedback is how we get better. So that I'm always looking for feedback from players. What worked well, what didn't work well. Let me see. This is an adult game. So and we'll talk a little bit more about setting a little bit later. But it is a grim and it's a dark setting that I have. So bad things happen to really good people, and bad things happen to people that aren't necessarily in that middle-aged range. So bad things happen to young people, and bad things happen to really old people. So so if folks are okay with that, then this might be an okay. So if you ever seen Lamentations of the Flame Princess, any kind of those games or anything, it's probably not quite that bad, but it could be pretty gruesome and dark at times. So are folks okay with playing in a setting that can get pretty dark at times?
That's generally the games I run.
Yeah, that's what I like. I like gritty games. I like games. I mean, I like to play the softer side of games every once in a while, mix it up. It's just like watching a movie. You don't want to always watch comedies, but it is good to mix in a comedy or a good animated short every once in a while. All right. Yeah. So we're going to run this game on Google Hangouts. I'm toying with has anyone ever used Roll20? Because I'm toying with the idea of using Roll20 more so just so I can share maps easier and maybe images easier with you guys rather than doing the screen share through Google Hangouts. Have folks used Roll20 before?
I have a tutorial now.
I didn't hear. What did you say, Sean?
Oh, I just said besides the tutorial, like walking through it, signing up, and like going through that step-by-step thing. No, I haven't.
So really, it's really simple. What'll happen is I'll just give you a link, and as long as you have the link and you join the game, I'll launch it through the Roll20 website, and it'll show right up in Google Hangouts. And as long as you're signed into the game, you'll get that option when you sign in to run it. So it runs right in the background of Roll20. I mean, of Google Hangouts. So and it's really simple. I really don't require players to use the dice generators, whether it's through Google Hangouts or Roll20. So if you want to roll your own dice, that's perfect. I'm perfectly fine with that. I really run on, it's an adult game. We're all adults, so I expect, people just use the honor system. So, so let me see. So another expectation, I guess, is just, so when we schedule sessions, just show up. And if something does come up, because stuff will happen at times, just let us know as soon as possible, so that we can either reschedule or one of the reasons why Nathan's here, he's our backup guy. And that's why I asked him to come to the session 0. So he kind of knew what he was getting into. So if something should happen between now and session 1, a player can't play, or even a couple of sessions in, I'm going to ask Nate to step up and play. So thank you, Nate, for coming. So any questions so far, guys, or any feedback you want to give, anything that you guys are thinking?
So I'm kind of still new to D&D, so just kind of like if I make like a dumb mistake, like just please tell me about it. Like that's like one of my things, and I just kind of like wanted to know, kind of like how like the backstories are going to fit into the world and how you would like that to.
Great, and that's why we're having a session 0, Dylan. Really good question, and comment. Yeah, so we will all mock you for being new. Just totally kidding. We've all been new, and guess what? We all make mistakes, and guess what? That's not a kind of game I run. I run a rules light game in the sense that I'm not going to get all bent out of shape because we bend a rule a little bit. It's all about really having fun. So if bending a rule a little bit really moves the story forward and it really fits and it jives and it's good and it doesn't break the whole game, then we're probably going to run with it. So don't worry about that. Don't be afraid to ask questions. You know, you're a player, you're expected to have fun, and you're not having fun if you're just quiet because you're like, I don't dare to ask a question. So that's my take on it. I mean, I really encourage new players to come in and play. So yeah, don't worry about it. You'll be fine. What is everybody else's experience level in playing 5e or just tabletop in general?
Myself, 5e, not like just kind of getting in. I started about like a year ago, whatever. But Dungeons and Dragons general for, I don't know, I played started when I was 13 and I'm 33 now. So yeah, you do the math. Been DM most of my life, so that's why I've been kind of like not DMing games, just waiting to jump into to other people's games, because I think I've run like, I don't know, 100 or 200 games in my life, DM'd 99% of them.
Very nice. I have been playing for since 5e came out, probably about like 6 months prior. So I've been playing quite a bit of 5e with a home group. So mostly DMing, but every now and then I'll get through like 5 months of doing mostly playing though.
And I've been playing for the last 40 years, so my gaming experience is pretty extensive. So I actually sat on my dad's lap as he DM'd first edition and original D&D. So I've seen a lot. So
perfect, excellent. Well, that's great. See, Dill, you're going to be in very capable hands. So let's talk about rules. So basically we're going to run a rules as written kind of game. So as the rules are written in the player's handbook or the Dungeon Master's Guide, I do have some rules that are very specific to the games that I run. Like I said, I run a gritty game, so I utilize lingering injuries and system shock. So for you newer guys that may not know what that means, is a lingering injury. If you get hit by a crit, if you drop to 0 hit points, or if you fail a death save by 5 or more, I may make you roll a d20, and the d20 roll will ultimately decide the fate, what experience you have. And lingering injuries, how they work. Now, there's magic in this system or in this game, but it's a low magic setting. So unless you're using a high magic heal, many of the lingering injuries, the effects will last even beyond a heal. So the heal might heal your hit points, but if, say, you sprained your ankle from a fall, so you might heal the damage, the hit point damage, but you might still have a limp and you might suffer like a -5 to your movement until you had a sufficient amount of rest, or unless you went to someone that could sufficiently heal it with magic. So we're really going to use common sense, I think, with a lot of that stuff. Especially like the type of lingering injury you might get will be driven by common sense. I'm not going to be. So if anybody has the Dungeon Master Guide, you look in it. Depending on your role, I mean, if you fell from something and it dropped you to 0 hit points and you rolled a 1, you're not going to lose an eye, which I think the table says. So we'll use our best judgment to do that. And I really encourage players to, if you have a suggestion, no, I think this is what happened to me. Very open to that sort of thing in gameplay. System shock is anytime you take at least half your total hit points and damage. You'll have to make a DC 15 con save. If you don't, then bad things happen. So try not to get hit that hard, and you'll be fine. Let me see how healing works for rest. So all your abilities are going to run on the same rules as written: short rest, long rest. Short rest being about an hour, long rest being an 8-hour day, an 8-hour rest period. Healing is a bit different. So a short rest is an 8 hours of full resting. It will be is considered a short rest for healing. However, you only can heal. You can only use 1 hit die to regain that many hit points plus your con per short rest. And a long rest would be the equivalent of 7 days of not doing any strenuous work or labor. And then you would gain all your hit points at that point, and then half your expended hit die. So any questions thus far?
So for a short rest is like you're sleeping and then you wake up and you get 1 hit die plus con. Then a long rest is like multiple days. Okay.
Yeah, 7 full. You would have to have 7 full days. I mean, you can still be active in those 7 days, but you can't be doing like adventuring stuff. Okay. So I think I already talked a little bit about this. Magical healing will restore hit point loss, but only healing spells of 6th or higher, like a heal or regenerate, will remove the effects of a lingering injury. So this is how I do critical hits. So critical hits is max weapon damage, plus you roll the weapon damage again, and then add any other modifiers to it. That's what a crit hit does in the games I run. So if you're a rogue, I don't think any of you guys are playing a rogue, but if you're a rogue, you would max your damage, roll the damage again, roll your sneak damage, add any bonuses, and then that's the damage you would do on a crit hit. Okay,
so I got a question, Lionel.
Yep.
What about using like the medicine skill? How do you use the medicine skill in regards to your lingering injuries and stuff?
Right. Those certain lingering injuries you can treat with a medicine check. So they might mitigate some of the, like if I think of one, like there's one's called a festering wound. And if someone makes successive medicine checks, it actually helps to improve the effects of the wound. So yeah, like again, I said, common sense. So this is a game where I really open it up to you guys to say, hey, what do you think about? And so I don't want to roll in there being the only one that's making all the rules over you guys. So I'm definitely open to something. If you guys can like suggest it, we might actually roll with it. So let's talk a bit about magic. So this is a low magic game. So while there are spellcasters, magic is rare in the world. And what that means is not all spells are around or available. So if you're playing a spell casting type, just make sure if you're picking spells or whatever, just run them past me. Most spells are going to work. I'm more concerned about the game breaker ones. The ones that literally allow you to pretty much bypass anything. Like you see this tower up on the hill, and a fly is one of the best spells for that. And the whole party flies up there. There you go. Takes it all out. Not to say that fly isn't in the game, because actually fly is a spell that I would allow. But just run spells past me. It's not like we're playing a high level game that's going to be like, all these spells are going to be getting all around. I guess it's more impacts higher level play. And I talked a little bit about this already too. I really encourage players to flavor their spells, make their spells their own. So like if two players are casting the same spell, they're probably going to look really different, even though it's the same, mechanically it's the same spell. So I really encourage that. Any questions thus far?
Since I'm playing a paladin, what kind of like deities are kind of in like this your homebrew world?
Yep, good question. I would just go with the Forgotten Realms pantheon.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. The setting that I use is the old world from Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Well, Nate, you might be familiar with that one where you've been playing for a while. I just love that setting. So Nuln is actually one of the large merchant cities in that world. So that's where the system I play in a lot, but it's also when I like to play my 5e games in. So yeah, Forgotten Realms Pantheon is fine. I really dig that Pantheon, so feel free to do that. Let me see. Right. Yeah, Spencer?
Are we going to be doing a little more of a straightforward campaign, or is it going to be more like we're going to have to come up with our own idea of how to catch whatever is killing the guild members?
Yeah, good question. And one I actually want to talk with you all about how you guys wanted to like open it up in session 1. I mean, there's a lot of different ways I'm thinking. I'm thinking we could either open where you guys already kind of have that lead and it brings you, and then you kind of dig right in, or we could open with you guys literally being in front of the Shadowed Council and role play that out, and you guys go from there. I'm really just open to any way you guys want to do it.
I'm fine with either having like a set plan or us trying to work together for a plan, but what do the rest of you think?
I'm open for anything. Guess we just got to watch if you do the whole intro thing or whatever. That can take like just a session itself.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, if we start with the Shadowed Council, depending on how you guys role play that all out and how you guys go about doing your investigation into getting more information on what's causing these disappearances, that literally could be a whole session in and of itself. And actually, I've seen players do that because they really get into it. Or we could just fast forward to that you guys have already gotten enough information that gives you a solid lead, and we could pick up from there. So I'm open. Whatever you guys can decide amongst yourselves how you want to do it, and that's what we'll do.
I'm kind of personally leaning towards actually meeting with the Shadow Council and kind of going through all the information for ourselves and trying to form a plan with the Shadow Council and go from there, if that's all right with you guys.
That's fine with me.
Okay, good for me.
All right, I will go with that then. But if let me just throw this out there because I don't know if this Spencer is why you wanting to do that. So when I've done things like that where I've fast forward before, I always give players the option of, even though they're in the action, they can ask, what would I have learned? Or what might ask me questions probably before the session even starts to fill in any kind of gaps that you might have. So.
All right. Yeah, I just kind of prefer the whole little more interaction thing with my playstyle personally.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so right. So this game will probably be it's probably gonna be a combination of 50% exploration and 50% combat with role play all the way through. So the exploration will be involved with role playing through that and role playing through combat. So I guess it'd be 33, 33, 33. So I'm a role play heavy game master. I mean, I really enjoy that part of the game. So, all right, so we'll do it. Let's just do it with you guys starting at the Shadow Council. So let's talk about names, races, and classes. So, if I remember correctly, we have. Let me see. So we have a couple of half elves, I believe. Right? Zendel. Am I saying that right?
Zendial, but yeah, he's a half elf.
Zendial. Okay. Half elf bard.
Yep.
John, a paladin.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Core, who is Luke's half orc, Eldritch Knight. And what did you say? What you're going to play, Nate? A druid, right? Half elven druid.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. And Sean, what are you thinking about playing?
Oh man, it was kind of funny that you actually mentioned rogue. I think I was probably going to go rogue in some way, or and that's kind of what I wanted to get your opinion about. So you said that Nuln is like a merchant city. Does the and I kind of wanted to like integrate it into the campaign a little bit more, but does the merchant city plus all the people that are around it, are they would they hire outsiders? Would they hire like, from within their own thieves guilds kind of thing?
So here's the thing. So when you said you wanted to play a paladin, I kind of just threw it out there just to remind you. Now remember, you're basically working for the 7 largest or the 7 thieves guilds of Nuln, this shadowed council. So these are not good people. So I just wanted you all to keep that in mind. So as you're hired by these guys, so would they hire from their own? Well, so a little backstory, they have already tried doing that and they've just been unsuccessful. So maybe not all in the council, but several members of the council feel it's time to look outside their ranks. So if you wanted to play a rogue, you could decide whether or not you want to be part of one of these 7 rogue guilds. And if so, you can decide, like all you guys can decide what your individual motivations are. And if you want to share that with the group, that's fine. If you want to have your own private motivations for doing this, if there's some piece of your backstory that you want to connect to this the overall overarching goal of this game, then please don't hesitate to do so. This is a point where we can all be creative in how we want to lay out at least how this game's going to start and run.
Okay. And then I guess you want to see like racism in Nuln and stuff like that. How is that handled? I mean, like, within, dwarves, half orcs, who's hated, who's not, all that kind of stuff.
So here's how it would work. So if you're half elven, this is so typically what happens is you need to decide, how do you see yourself? Do you identify yourself as human or elf? And more likely than not, that's how society as a whole is going to see you. So if you're half elven and you relate more with the elven side of your lineage, then mostly through the game, other NPCs and even I would address you as the elf Toriel. So that's something that that's an individual choice that you would want to make. So again, is there racism? Certainly there is. Luke wants to play a half orc. Well, guess what? Half orcs themselves are not a very light race, because they're always they're very barbaric and very much encroaching upon the civilizations of man. Of course, orcs themselves probably tell a much different story. It's probably just the opposite. Man is encroaching upon their territories. So half orcs, it's not uncommon for that. For there to be a lot of that sort of ill will. Now, Nuln is a little different because it's this large, thriving, it's this large, thriving merchant mecca, in the old world and the empire. So this is probably going to be a melting pot of races. So of all the places in the empire, this is probably one of the ones where you're going to fit in the best. being any sort of other race. Human, of course, is by far the most predominant race.
Right. Actually, I took the charlatan background, and it says that we can do like a second persona. So I was wondering if it'd be all right if I portrayed one as a elf and then the other one as a human, like a religious human.
That is cool. I dig it. Nice.
Perfect.
And I guess I'll just go across. So Sean, what are you thinking? Like, let's talk mechanics, and then we can talk more about backstory, how you guys might all know each other, and we can decide whether did any of you guys know each other prior to this, or did you just happen to all show up answering this secret call for heroes or men to get to the bottom of this?
So I'm leaning toward probably the rogue, or maybe even like a barbarian, maybe flavored as a rogue. If they're reaching for outsiders, I can see that. So it would definitely be some kind of melee rogue kind of character. I'll probably decide in the next 20 minutes as I go through pictures and get inspired.
Perfect. And is there a certain background you're thinking or race?
I actually, if it helps, race would probably be human or dwarf. And if it helps, I think maybe I am going to be one of these, part of one of these guilds that are looking outside. Maybe not part of them, but I'm there. I would be one of their,
like an agent or something.
Yeah, like if I choose the barbarian kind of thing, I would think like, yeah, I'm the one they go to when they want it to be completely outside of the Thieves Guild, so it doesn't get tracked to anybody.
I'm just going to throw into the chat the seven guilds.
Sure.
All right. And was there a certain background, or is it going to really depend, Sean, on which class you choose?
It'll probably be criminal, knowing me, just to help it out. Yeah.
Yeah. That's perfect. All right, Nate.
So yeah, I haven't decided on a name yet. I'm going with the half elven, and I'm doing the druid, and I am. And this probably makes nobody else would probably get this, but yeah, I'm building this character as a street shaman from like Shadowrun. So if you ever guys want to go and look at some of that's what this guy's. He wanders around the streets he's got his own little totem, and I don't know. He's an urchin. I was either going to go with the folk hero or the urchin, and I haven't decided which yet. So it's gonna.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I still don't know. The urchin provides some stuff I don't have already, but yeah.
All right.
I don't know. If you want to pitch it for later, if you need me to fill in, I mean, acting is maybe eyes and ears for one of the 7 guilds would be fine. I could do it that way. So.
Right. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. And anything that we don't hammer out in this session 0, guys, definitely feel free just in the event, just post there, and I'll get when we set the session 1. You could, we'll talk through there too. So don't worry about it. Don't feel that pressure. And even if we talk about something and you've changed your mind, no one's locking in. No one's kind of hitting that button and locking in. So if things change, things change. So feel free, guys. And Dill, last but not least.
So I'm keeping the character's name John, and I guess like my only 2 kind of things was like I did Guild Artesian, but like instead of working for like the Thieves Guilds here, it's kind of like he gets drawn in because like his sister was a part of one of these guilds, if that's okay with you. So in terms of like mechanics, he's kind of like if there's any guilds that do with blacksmithing or some stuff like that.
You can assume, Dill, that these guys have their fingers in everything. So yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I mean, even if if nothing else, just getting extortion money. Oh, we got to protect you. We got to keep you safe from all these other bad guys. So you got to pay that fee. That sort of stuff. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, maybe Dill, you had some special protections where your sister was this gilded member of one of these 7. So maybe you had this protection from having to pay these extortion fees, and you're also protected from the other guilds, which allowed you maybe your trade to flourish.
Okay, that sounds good. So actually, yeah, I like that. That's really cool. Thank you.
You're the first guy I've ever played with that's taken that background. Groovy. All right. Yeah. So your guy would probably be already fairly wealthy, I would imagine. Yeah. So has something happened to your sister? Is that what's and I'm kind of jumping here, but did something happen to your sister? Is that why you're finding yourself going before the council and testing your metal to locate her?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So it's just kind of like one day she doesn't show up, and you're just kind of like, you start hitting whispers of like there's an issue that even because I'm imagining the Shadow Council isn't going to be like getting like some kind of trumpet and be like, hey guys, we have an issue. Like you start hearing these whispers, and he starts getting concerned. And so it's just kind of like, this is like the best chance I have of finding her, even if I don't like these people or even agree with them.
Right. And probably, yeah, with your connection with your sister, what you would know too is that, they're trying to, for the longest time, they're probably trying to just play it off like, hey, there's no problem here. It's all good. Just some infighting between the guilds. And, but maybe it's getting so bad now that, that even they can no longer lie to one another and straight face it. So yeah, good. I like that. Nice. So Dill, please check out the chat and just pick one of those. Pick one of the 7 guilds that your sister would have been from.
Can you give me like a description of like what these guilds, like kind of like the specialities of these guilds, or?
Oh yeah, sure.
Thank you.
So the Hollow Hoods, I mean, all of them are into some sort of extortion, thieving type stuff. But the Hollow Hoods are the kind of, it's one of the smaller guilds. And they're like that dark side that no one wants to admit that they need. They're the ones that gather information. Their members are called the Hollows. And they wear these cowls that hide their faces, but they're like your classic spy type guild. They use the information that they collect to, if not help themselves, help the ones that are paying them. So if you need some dirt on somebody, that's the guild you would go to. The Muddy Boots, they're just a roll 'em, club 'em and roll 'em. They're just thugs. They're just a bunch of thugs. They come from a varied background. They're probably one of the larger guilds, but they're probably one of the most unskilled. They just really take their ranks from just about anyone. They believe in strength in numbers. And if you read my little intro when I first posted this, Gus, one of the poor members of the Mud Boots, did not meet a very happy fate. So Yuke's children, they are a tighter knit group, and they do run the like an underground fighting ring is run by one, and it's 3 brothers, and that's where they're the children of Yuke, who established the guild. So what they do is one of them runs this underground fighting ring. The other one does extort. He extorts all the beggars and peasants in the town. They pay him money, and in turn, they're fed, and the other one is just, again, it's about thieving and information. The Ebb and Death, that's an assassin's guild. They're very few in number, and very little is known about them. Many of their agents are spread throughout the city. So Ebb and Death is the Black Death. The Twilight Syndicate, think of the mob, the Italian mob. That's the Twilight Syndicate. They're probably the most powerful of all of them. Bruno's Butchers are much like Yuke's Children. What they lack in finesse, they make up for in just brutality. And Demons of the Moon is it's kind of this witches or magic guild. And they're said to be led by some witch, and they delve in dark magics.
Okay, number one, that's all really cool. Like, those all sound really good. And I think that the Hollow Hoods kind of like they seem to fit like the most, just because it would kind of like just being able to get dirt and like get it kind of like get her brother like certain contracts. So it's just like it's not really sure like how much of his work made him like this money or her connections, and then it would kind of like lead into why she would disappear as well.
Right. And of the seven, the Hollow Hoods and the Twilight Syndicate are probably the most noble of them. Honor is important to both of those guilds, and that would probably have the most mixed ranks. So they're not just thugs and murderers like many of the others. So yeah, Hollow Hoods sounds great.
Then what main deities are in the town?
All of them. In the old world, all deities are accepted. So even though there may be a temple to Bane, and worshippers of Bane are not going to be looked down upon. There's like a reverence for all of the greater gods. And actually, most people would kind of spend time worship. Most of the normal people would spend time worshiping all of them, depending on what they need. You would obviously pray to the god of harvest to have a good harvest. If you're getting ready to make a big deal, you would pray to Tamora, the goddess of luck. And so that it's not like the main people don't just pick one god and just run with it. The only people that typically do that are the clergy and the paladins and the clerics of these different deities. But so there is no patron deity. In the old world of Warhammer, Sigmar is the deity. I guess if I had to pick a god from the Forgotten Realms pantheon, it would be like Tyr or Helm.
Okay.
Probably typically be those types of warrior gods would be the ones that would probably be most revered in the Empire. It's a very militaristic nation.
All right. Thanks.
Right, we're doing. Did folks any other questions folks might have? I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover.
I got a small question.
Yep.
So for you mainly, what do you want to get out of this campaign?
Me? I just wanna have fun. I think it'd be a great story. I had this great idea. I actually I beta tested a little short run for this. It was just a one session one-off, and I was like, yeah, this would be really good if I could spread it out over several sessions. Nuln is one of my favorite cities in the old world, and there's just a lot of flavor that can happen there. I mean, it's a big city. Also another thing. So think like medieval Europe when you think of like the flavor of this town. So even when the streets cramped, the buildings leaning up in close around you. Oftentimes garbage and refuse kind of running right down through the middle of the street. Yeah, so I just want to have a good game, play with some new players, and hopefully at the end we all get these big smiles on our face and said, yeah, that was really fun. Hopefully you find out what's happening. That would be really cool too.
You can just start off with a session 2 TPK. We'll take that too.
Oh yeah, so questions. Oh, do you guys have any questions about character creation?
Not too much. Just how much are we going to be going into like the downtime of things, or are we just going to mainly focus on when the group is together?
I guess it depends on how much time passes from one session to the other. If it's just literally it's left on a cliffhanger, then probably not that much. I do encourage players while we're playing. Maybe you're having a flashback as we're doing a session. When I played this before, the players were actually slogging around looking, and everyone had a flashback to an earlier event, and it actually worked out really well. So really, I'm really open to a lot of that. So,
all right.
Yeah, and I do allow mulligans. If you're a golfer, you know what that is. If not, that's like a retcon. So if it's like, oh, you know how I said this, within reason, I definitely allow for that to happen. Especially for the Dill, you're fairly new, so you may not know like a system or how a mechanic works, and then after you see it in play, you're like, oh, geez, I would never do that. I don't fudge rolls though, so the rolls are as the rolls are, but I also don't necessarily pressure the rolls. I'm never going to put everything on one roll. You're not going to die on that one roll. It's kind of like when you're making death saves or something. You get 3 rolls to hopefully stabilize.
Right.
Oh, you know what? That just remembered something that I missed right off my little cheat sheet here, and that's skill checks. So one of the things, I guess one of the challenges I have with 5e is the way skill checks work is that pretty much everybody can roll for something. That's not how typically I do it. So if there's something happening and it's like something that like a skill in Arcana would be the roll, just because you have an intelligence with a +1 and the Arcana's on your list, it would be rare that just anybody could do that. If it's fairly general knowledge, then I'll definitely prompt people to everyone can make a roll. Because it's just a matter of simple mathematics. If 4 people are rolling on a skill, someone's is typically going to always hit the DC, and that kind of takes some of the element out of the game, which I think is really built into it. So that's typically how I do it. Also, a big one I'm on is don't just ask to make a roll. If you want to do something, tell me what your character's doing, and then we will then decide what the appropriate roll would be. So don't say, I want to make this I want to make this investigation roll. No, tell me what your character's doing to do the investigation, and then it'll naturally happen. Then I'll be like, all right, roll an investigation or roll a perception, make a perception roll. And probably the one last thing that I would just add before I open it up to any last questions is when we're actually playing, what I'll do is I'm going to put the DC of a challenge or a save or whatever into the chat, and you make your roll, and if you succeed or fail, just describe how it happens based on whether you succeed or fail. That's a way that I give some players some ability to kind of just let everybody else know what happened, and then you can kind of get some control over your character's fate rather than me narrating what happens every time you fail or every time you succeed. So if guys are cool with that, that's what I'd like to do.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds fun.
Yeah, good. So how soon do we want to play, and are there better days? Let me actually start. I'm on the East Coast. Evenings are best for me, and weekends are always kind of iffy. Well, I'm going to stop the broadcast for this, and we can just have this conversation outside the broadcast. So.